The invitation sat on my desk, its gold-embossed letters winking under the soft glow of my San Francisco office lights. As if daring me to ignore it, James and Victoria cordially invite you. My brother's wedding, the social spectacle of the year, promised to be a parade of wealth and ambition, orchestrated by my mother's relentless planning. Ava, 34 and perpetually underestimated, traced the edges of the card, wondering if I could dodge the inevitable judgment awaiting me in Napa Valley. 10 years ago, James had laughed in my face when I abandoned medical school for a tech startup, declaring I'd be a failure. Yet here I was, CEO of Atlas Industries, a $2 billion empire I'd forged in a Menlo Park garage. My success a secret I guarded like a hidden blade. Why reveal it to a family who saw me as a disappointment in jeans and hoodies? I leaned back in my chair, the city's skyline glittering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. A decade of 18-hour days, coding through nights fueled by coffee and stubborn dreams, had built Atlas from a flicker of an idea to a titan in tech. My family, though, remained oblivious, celebrating James's every corporate step at Chen Enterprises, Victoria's family business. While I toiled in obscurity, they thought I was a mid-level coder, scraping by. The irony curled my lips into a wry smile. Miss Ava. My assistant Clara's voice cut through my thoughts. Crisp and professional. The board meeting starts in 5 minutes. I nodded, setting the invitation aside. Also, she added, her tone neutral but eyes sharp. Chen Enterprises sent the final contract for the semiconductor deal. They're expecting signatures by Friday. The $50 million deal, a lifeline for Chen Enterprises' floundering product line. And they had no clue they were negotiating with me. Atlas, through subsidiaries and holding companies, was their savior or their reckoning. I'd kept my ownership veiled, letting my Uncle Simon act as the public face while I pulled the strings. Thank you. Clara, I said, my voice steady. The wedding loomed this weekend, a 60-mile drive to Napa Valley, and part of me ached to skip it. My mother's voice echoed from her latest call, dripping with pride for James and disdain for me. Your brother's marrying into the Chen family. Ava, do try to look presentable for once. Presentable, as if a billion-dollar company built in sneakers wasn't enough. I stood, smoothing my tailored blazer, and glanced at the invitation again. The memory of that Palo Alto dinner 10 years ago stung James's smirk as he told our parents I'd come crawling back when my startup failed. My father's silence, my mother's pursed lips. I hadn't crawled. I'd built, poured every dollar, every sleepless night, into Atlas, while James climbed Chen's corporate ladder. I'd acquired their suppliers, outmaneuvered their competitors, and turned Atlas into a name whispered in boardrooms. Yet to my family, I was the black sheep, the one who'd thrown away a real career. Clara lingered at the door. Will you attend the wedding? Miss Ava. Her question was polite, but her gaze held a knowing glint. She'd seen the contracts, knew the stakes. I picked up the invitation, its weight heavier than paper. I wouldn't miss it, I said, a quiet edge to my voice. My mother wanted something presentable. Fine. I'd wear a simple black dress, designer but subtle, the kind they'd never recognize. Let them underestimate me one last time. The decision settled like a stone in my chest. I'd go, not for James or Victoria, but for myself, to face the family who'd dismissed me, to stand in their world of champagne and chandeliers, knowing I held the power to upend it all. The semiconductor contract was just the beginning. Atlas's acquisitions, my silent chess moves, had positioned me to control Chen Enterprises' fate. As I headed to the boardroom, the city's pulse thrumming beyond the glass, I felt the familiar fire of purpose. Napa Valley awaited, and with it, a reckoning dressed in black. The Napa Valley sun bathed the vineyard in golden light. But as I stepped into the wedding's orbit, a chill settled over me. The estate sprawled before the church, a vision of opulence with 500 guests mingling under crystal chandeliers strung across ancient oaks. Champagne fountains bubbled, and flowers enough to choke a botanical garden framed the scene. I, Ava, 34 and a stranger in my family's world, smoothed my black dress, its subtle designer label invisible to those who valued flash over substance. Was this extravagance a celebration of love or a desperate bid to cement the Chen Porter alliance? The answer hung in the air, sharp as the scent of roses. Ava. My mother's voice sliced through the courtyard's hum, her air kiss grazing my cheek without smudging her flawless makeup. You came, and you look presentable. The word landed like a barb, her eyes flicking over my dress with faint disappointment. Behind her, my father stood deep in conversation with Mr. Chen, their laughter oblivious to the truth I held their business in my hands. Where should I sit, I asked, glancing at the ornate seating chart, its calligraphy a mockery of inclusion. My mother waved a manicured hand. Oh, we had to shuffle things last minute. Victoria's family brought so many important guests, tech moguls. You understand. I understood perfectly. To them, I was the embarrassment. The dropout who'd forsaken medicine for a pipe dream. My mother turned away, already greeting a Bay Area venture capitalist. While I stood, the weight of their dismissal pressing harder, the church doors opened, and I slipped to the back, my heels silent on the stone floor. The ceremony began, a pageant of wealth. Victoria, radiant in her designer gown, glided down the aisle, and James beamed with the smug certainty of a man who thought he'd won life's game. I watched, a shadow among the glittering crowd, my mind drifting to Atlas Industries. 3 of Chen Enterprises' major suppliers now answered to me. The $50 million semiconductor deal was their lifeline, and they didn't know I held the plug. The irony was delicious, James marrying into what he thought was power, while the sister he'd mocked, controlled their fate. The vows echoed, syrupy and rehearsed, and I let my gaze wander to the stained glass windows, their colors fracturing the light. 10 years of slights replayed in my mind, holiday dinners where I was excluded from photos for not dressing expensively enough. My mother's sighs when I mentioned my startup. As the couple kissed, applause erupted, and the crowd surged toward the reception hall. I lingered, scanning the seating chart again, hoping for a mistake. No Ava. My mother's vague wave haunted me. Important guests had taken my place. The sting was familiar, but sharper here. Amid the excess, I followed the throng, the vineyard's warmth fading as I entered the grand hall. Crystal gleamed, laughter rang, and I searched for my name card among the silk-draped tables. Nothing. A prickle of humiliation crept up my spine. But I straightened, my dress a quiet armor, Victoria's voice, sweet as artificial honey, cut through my thoughts, looking for something. Ava. She stood behind me, her reception dress shimmering, every inch the perfect bride. I turned, meeting her eyes. My seat, I said simply. Her smile didn't reach her gaze. Oh, didn't anyone tell you we had to prioritize? You'll find a lovely spot with the kitchen staff. The words landed like a slap, and a nearby guest stifled a laugh. At my brother's wedding, I was relegated to the margins. But as I stood there, the fire that built Atlas flared within me. They wanted me in the kitchen. Fine. I'd serve them a lesson they'd never forget. The Napa Valley reception hall shimmered with a brittle kind of perfection, as if one wrong note could shatter its crystal facade. Victoria's words, a lovely spot with the kitchen staff, hung in the air, her saccharine smile daring me to flinch. The snickers from nearby guests, Silicon Valley's elite draped in tailored suits and sequins, prickled my skin. But I stood rooted, my black dress a quiet defiance. A decade of their condescension surged through me, James's laughter at my dreams, my mother's sighs, the family photos that cropped me out. This was their stage, their triumph. But I held the script as Victoria turned away, her laughter trailing like perfume. I slipped my phone from my purse, my thumb hovering over a number that could unravel their world. Sis. James's voice slithered from behind, champagne flute in hand, his tuxedo pristine. Don't make a scene. You've always known your place. His smirk, so like the one from that Palo Alto dinner years ago, ignited something molten in my chest. My place, I'd built an empire while he played corporate prince. I met his gaze, steady and unyielding, and pressed the dial. "Jack," I said into the phone, my voice clear. Eyes locked on James. "This is Ava. Cancel the semiconductor contract with Chen Enterprises. All $50 million of it." The line went silent for a heartbeat. Then Jack's crisp, "Understood." "Miss Ava." James's glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor, a jagged sound that stilled the nearby chatter. Victoria's smile froze, her eyes darting between us. "What are you talking about?" James demanded, his voice cracking. "What contract?" I tilted my phone. The Atlas Industries logo glowing on the screen, the $50 million deal your new father-in-law's been banking on, the one to save Chen Enterprises' quarter, the one my company was set to deliver. The color drained from James's face, his confident facade crumbling like cheap plaster. "Atlas." He stammered, "That's impossible. Atlas is a multi-billion-dollar company." I finished, my voice ablaze. "One I built. James. While you and our parents decided I was a failure." Victoria grabbed my arm, her manicured nails biting. "You're lying," she hissed, her bridal poise unraveling. "Atlas is owned by Simon Porter. Everyone knows that." I smiled, cool and deliberate. "Simon's my uncle, a figurehead. I'm the one who calls the shots. Care to call him and check the ballroom's hum faded?" Guests pausing mid-sip. Sensing the shift, James's eyes widened, a gray sheen creeping over his face. "The semiconductors," he whispered, "Dad Chen's entire expansion. Depends on me." I cut in, my tone even, just like I know about your 3 failed product launches, the $200 million in debt, and how Chen Enterprises has been limping on borrowed time for 18 months. Victoria's father, David Chen, pushed through the crowd, his usual swagger faltering. "What's this about our contract?" he barked, his bow tie askew. I extended my hand. "Calm as a still lake, Mr. Chen. We haven't been properly introduced. Ava, CEO of Atlas Industries. You might know me as SP Holdings from our negotiation calls." His face slackened, as if I'd struck him. "You're SP," he choked. "The one buying our suppliers." "Guilty," I said, my smile sharp. "Your due diligence team should have dug deeper. A quick background check would have linked me to Atlas." My mother shoved forward, her face flushed with champagne and fury. "Ava, stop this nonsense. You're ruining your brother's wedding." I opened my banking app, the screen glowing with Atlas's quarterly reports. "Nonsense. Would you like to see the numbers? Mother, or the ownership documents?" James lunged, his fingers digging into my arm. "Fix this," he growled. "Whatever game you're playing. Fix it now." I held his gaze, unflinching, like you fixed things when I asked for a $10,000 loan to start Atlas. When you laughed and told me to get a real job. His grip faltered, and I pressed on, my voice low but lethal. "Or should we discuss the $500? Dollars you've been siphoning from Chen Enterprises to cover your gambling debts?" Victoria gasped, her designer dress whispering as she whirled on him. "You've been stealing from my father's company." The guests' murmurs grew, phones flashing as they recorded the implosion. Mr. Chen's face turned purple. "Security," he roared. "Get them out." I raised a hand, stopping the guards cold. "I wouldn't. Unless you want Atlas to call in the $150 million in Chen Enterprises debt we now own. It'd be a shame if it all came due at once." The guards froze, power shifting like sand underfoot. Victoria sank onto a chair, her mascara streaking. "This can't be happening," she whispered. "Not at my wedding." I leaned in, my voice soft. "The kitchen staff does have a lovely table." "Victoria, perfect for a family in your new position." The silence was deafening. The ballroom a tableau of shocked faces and half-raised glasses. I turned, my heels clicking on the marble. and walked out, leaving chaos in my wake. The kitchen table they'd set for me had become their undoing, and I was just getting started. The Napa Valley night swallowed me as I stepped outside. The vineyard's cool air a sharp contrast to the ballroom's suffocating drama. My Tesla waited at the valet stand, understated and sleek, a far cry from James's flashy sports car. The chaos I'd left behind Victoria's sobs, Mr. Chen's shouts. My mother's frantic attempts to salvage dignity faded as I slid into the driver's seat. I'd toppled their house of cards with a single phone call, and the world would soon know, as my driver, Mike, pulled onto the 60-mile road back to San Francisco. The weight of what I'd done settled in, not regret, but clarity. The kitchen table had shown their true colors, and I'd painted mine in bold strokes. By Monday, the fallout was everywhere. The San Francisco Chronicle screamed, Chen Enterprises stock plummets 40% amid embezzlement scandal, while the Wall Street Journal dissected James's $500 theft. His name now synonymous with disgrace. Victoria, ever the pragmatist, filed for annulment within days. Her socialite dreams too fragile for a sinking dynasty. Atlas Industries moved swiftly, absorbing Chen Enterprises' valuable patents and supply chains in a $300 million deal, stripping away their bloated management. Starting with James's department, my office, high above San Francisco's skyline, buzzed with activity. My team executing the takeover with surgical precision. I watched the city's lights, a silent victor in a game my family never knew I was playing. My parents' voicemails piled up, a digital trail of their unraveling. The first was sharp, my mother's voice hissing. How could you humiliate us like this? My father's gruff call us. Ava, we need to talk. By the third day, their tones softened. Please, creeping in. We didn't know. Ava, please, let's fix this. I didn't reply. Not yet. My focus was Aeon-Tlas. Its $2 billion valuation climbing as we reshaped Chen's assets into something leaner, stronger. The Palo Alto social circle that once fawned over my parents now whispered behind their backs, their country club invitations drying up. James, I heard, had fled to their guest room, his corporate crown tarnished. Each morning, I sat at my desk. The garage workbench from my Menlo Park days a quiet reminder of the nights I'd coded through doubt. Clara, my assistant, filtered the flood of media requests. Her efficiency a shield against the noise. Another reporter, she said one afternoon, holding up a post-it. They're calling you the tech titan who toppled Chen. I waved it away. Labels didn't matter. What mattered was the work building. Not gloating, yet the voicemails kept coming. My mother's voice cracking in the latest Ava. We're sorry. Just talk to us. I deleted it. My heart a fortress. But a flicker of curiosity stirred. What would they say? Face to face, stripped of their illusions. The question lingered as I signed off on Atlas's latest acquisition, a $50 million supplier deal that sealed Chen's fate. The kitchen table's lesson echoed true colors show under pressure. My family had shown theirs. But what would they do with the ruins? As I leaned back, the city's pulse thrumming beyond my window, I sensed the story wasn't over. The next move wasn't mine. It was theirs. 3 months after the Napa Valley wedding, a faint scent of expensive perfume drifted into my San Francisco office, pulling me from a quarterly report. The door opened, and there stood my mother, her designer coat a touch faded, her posture less certain than I'd ever seen. Had she come to beg, to blame, or to bridge the chasm I'd carved with a single phone call? The voicemail's angry. Then pleading had stopped a week ago, and now she faced me, a stranger in the empire I'd built. I set my tablet down, the silence between us heavy, as if the kitchen table's shadow loomed over us both. She sat uninvited, clutching her purse. The receptionist didn't recognize me. She said, her voice soft, I had to show ID to prove I was your mother. I nodded, leaning back. Security's tight since the takeover. We've had curious visitors. Her eyes, once sharp with judgment, flickered with something new regret. Perhaps your father and I. We've been thinking, she began, about how we misjudged you, how we failed to see your strength. I raised an eyebrow, unmoved. And what prompted this clarity? The headlines, the country club snubs. She flinched, a tear tracing her powdered cheek. We were wrong, Ava. We chased James's flash, not your substance. We're proud of you, even if we don't deserve to be. Pride. The word felt hollow after years of their dismissal. Proud now that it's visible. I said, my voice steady, but when I was coding in a Menlo Park garage, scraping by, would you have cared? She shook her head, voice breaking. No, and that's our shame. I stood, crossing to the window. San Francisco's skyline, a testament to my grit. Her words stirred no warmth, only questions. What did family mean when trust had been a one-way street? I pressed a button on my phone. Clara, bring the package for Mrs. Porter. My assistant delivered a thick envelope, which I handed to my mother. What's this? She asked, fingers trembling as she opened it. A chance. I said, details for Atlas's $50, $100 small business loan program, listings for affordable Oakland storefronts, and contacts for honest advisors. Build something real. If you're willing to work? Her eyes widened, scanning the papers. You'd offer this after everything? I met her gaze, unflinching. It's not helpful. It's an opportunity. No shortcuts, no favors. Earn it, like I did. She nodded, clutching the envelope, and left with a whispered, thank you. As the door closed, I glanced at my old workbench. Its scars a reminder the kitchen table taught me who valued me, and who didn't. A year after the wedding, I stood on a Silicon Valley stage, the spotlight warm against my skin. 1,000 eyes fixed on me at the annual tech summit. Was I the tech titan who toppled Chen, as the headlines crowed, or simply a woman who'd refused to stay at the kitchen table? My keynote loomed, a chance to shape how the world saw Atlas Industries and me. The auditorium buzzed, venture capitalists and coders alike waiting for my words. But my mind drifted to a moment months earlier, when I'd sat with a young entrepreneur in an Oakland cafe, her eyes bright with the same hunger I'd once known. That mentee, Sophia, had pitched her startup with trembling hands. Her $25 year seed funding from Atlas now fueling a thriving app for underserved communities. You believed in me, she'd said, her success a mirror to my Menlo Park nights. When belief was all I had, I'd mentored her through setbacks, sharing lessons forged in my crucible. Trust your vision. Ignore the noise. Now, as I adjusted the mic, I spoke to the crowd, my voice steady. Success isn't a headline or a dollar sign. It's building something that lasts, something true. I learned that at a kitchen table, where facades fall and character holds. The applause was thunderous, but my thoughts turned to my family. James, no longer the gilded son, had sent a note from his San Jose analyst job. His words, simple. Thanks for the wake-up call. His humility, earned through honest work, surprised me. My parents' Palo Alto boutique, funded by a $20 Atlas loan, had become a local gem, their hands now calloused from effort, not entitlement. They'd learned, as I had, that value outshines vanity. I paused, the crowd leaning in. Today, I'm announcing a $1 million scholarship for underrepresented tech founders, because the next big idea deserves a chance, not a pedigree. The room erupted, phones flashing, the moment cementing Atlas's mark. Back in my office, I sat at my workbench, its worn surface grounding me as I sketched plans for a $500 million AI division. Atlas's next frontier. The headlines had faded. Chen Enterprises a footnote. Victoria, a distant memory, but my work endured. Sophia's app trended on the App Store. My parents' boutique drew crowds. James clocked honest hours. I traced a scratch on the wood, a relic of my garage days. The kitchen table hadn't just exposed my family's flaws, it had revealed my strength. a compass for every choice since success. I realized wasn't toppling empires or silencing doubters. It was building one step, one coder, one scholarship at a time. As San Francisco's lights glittered beyond my window, I saw not just a city, but a canvas for what came next. The kitchen table was behind me, but its lesson truth over illusion propelled me forward. My legacy not in what I'd torn down, but in what I'd built, and would build still.
Have you ever poured your heart into someone else's dream, only to be told you don't belong in the room where it's celebrated? I'm Camilla, 32, and I learned that lesson the hard way at my sister Kay's graduation party, a night I paid for with $850. I didn't have only to be escorted out like a stranger. That moment wasn't just a sting. It was the crack that split open years of silence, revealing a family who used my money, erased my name, and rewrote me as the outsider in their perfect story. Let me take you back to that evening in Minneapolis, where the truth started to unravel, and I began to see the cost of my loyalty. The sun was dipping low when I pulled up to the Bloomington estate, its manicured hedges and gurgling fountains screaming wealth I'd never known. Cars lined the street. My dad's crooked pickup, Kay's polished Jeep, but Grandma and Grandpa's Civic was missing a quiet absence that pricked my gut. I'd been covering Kay's rent and tuition for years, skipping dinners to send $750 monthly, $200 each semester. No complaints. I wasn't expecting a parade, just a glance, maybe a nod as I walked up in my clean white blouse and hole-free jeans, hair pulled tight. My phone glowed with a screenshot of the invite scavenged from Mom's Facebook comments. The only way I ever heard about family events. Music floated from the backyard, glasses clinked. Someone toasted, to the future. And cheers erupted. I was almost there. At the gate, 2 security guards loomed, one lanky one built like a fridge. Private celebration. The bigger one barked. I kept my voice steady. I'm her sister Camilla. The lanky one tapped his earpiece, muttering while I stood, arms limp, the laughter behind me, sharpening the air. Then the door swung open. Kay glided out in a glittery gold dress. $698, my money phone glued to her hand. Mom followed in her pastel cardigan, Dad unshaven, but smirking. Kay didn't hesitate. She doesn't belong here, she said, flat as a blade. I laughed, thinking it was a jab, until Dad chuckled. You showed up! Mom's voice hissed, urgent. Camilla, this is Kay's day. Don't make it something it's not. I met her eyes. You mean like pretending I don't exist? Dad laughed again. Come on, you know how things are. Kay sneered. You only helped to hold it over me. I could have listed every payment, every sacrifice, but instead I said, then you're welcome. The gravel crunched under my flats as I walked back to my car. No tears, just a silence heavier than any fight we'd ever had. In the driver's seat, I typed one line, starting next month, your rent's on you. Good luck. I hit send, started the engine, and left the estate behind like a book I'd finally closed. Home felt sharper that night, the flickering streetlight on Central Avenue cutting through the dark. I dropped my keys in the bowl, kicked off my shoes, and sank onto the couch, one arm over my eyes. My phone buzzed, blocked caller. I let it ring. Twice more, same number, same silence. I didn't answer, but I didn't turn it off either. Some stubborn part of me wanting to know who couldn't let it go. The night was still the neighbor's TV, humming faintly. A car door slamming in the distance. I saw Kay's face, her gaze sliding past me like I was a delivery driver who'd wandered into her spotlight. They didn't forget me, they chose to erase me. That wasn't new. My birthday buried under a January blizzard had passed without a call, while Kay posted champagne flutes and sparkler desserts captioning, "Grateful for the ones who matter." Mom's text came the next day. "Hope, you're okay. No happy birthday, just a check-in to cover her bases." Weeks later, I noticed a tab in my bank account shared access Judith's name in bold. She'd been tracking every $5 coffee, every late Netflix charge ever since Kay asked me to send rent to Mom's account for easier tracking. I hadn't questioned it. That's what they banked on. 2 weeks before the party, Kay texted, "No greeting. Just need a dress." Budget, I said $200, stretching my limit. She sent a screenshot, a sleeveless gold gown, $698 plus tax. This one. You wouldn't get it, but this demands polish. I missed my bus staring at those words I still paid. Sent the money, got a thumbs up emoji. Her Instagram glowed with the dress captioned, "Deserve every bit of this moment." No mention of me. The silence wasn't forgetfulness. It was a choice, and I was starting to feel its weight. What's worse than being erased by your own family? Finding out they're laughing about it behind your back. I thought I'd seen the depth of my sister Kay's betrayal at her graduation party, the one I funded for $850 only to be turned away. But a few days later, a message from my cousin Marlene cracked that illusion wide open, showing me just how far Kay's cruelty stretched. That was the moment I stopped swallowing the silence and let the truth spill out. It was a Thursday night, the hum of my space heater, the only sound as I folded towels fresh from the dryer. My phone buzzed, startling me, Marlene's name glowing on the screen. We weren't close. She was younger, quiet at family gatherings, always smiling but saying little. Her text read, "Can I send you something privately? You need to see this." My pulse ticked up, but I typed, sure. 3 screenshots landed seconds later, each one a knife. A group chat K plus real ones unfolded before me. Kay's words led the charge. Told y'all she'd show up, so desperate to be part of everything. Another, she pays my bills and still gets treated like trash, must love it. Someone else chimed in. Did she cry? Please tell me she cried. Kay's reply, didn't stay long enough. Too bad, I would have filmed it. The second screenshot burned hotter. A stranger asked. You didn't invite her after she paid all that? Kay answered. Why should I? Paying doesn't mean you're family, it means you're useful. The third was a meme my face, an old Facebook photo edited with ATM, but make it sad. I sank onto the couch, the screen's glow harsh in the dark. These weren't careless words, they were sharpened to cut. Marlene texted again. I was added to that group by accident last year. Never left, just watched. She didn't notice, I was still in it. A pause. I'm not sending this to be mean. You deserve to know who you're defending. I didn't cry, didn't spiral. A cold clarity settled instead, like stepping into crisp air after a stifling room. Thank you, I typed seriously. She sent a single heart. I opened the family group chat, the one filled with baby photos, bad jokes from Uncle Harold, and no messages to me since the party. The cursor blinked for a full minute. Then I typed, let me show you what your perfect daughter thinks of me. I attached Kay's screenshots, no explanation, just the raw truth. I hit send and watched the timestamp tick. 10 minutes passed, no replies. Then a single move, Aunt Martha left the group. No goodbye, just gone. That quiet exit told me more than any defense could. The seams of our family's facade were splitting, and I wasn't the only one who saw it. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was mine to wield. What do you do when the people who should love you most twist your pain into their inconvenience? After I exposed my sister Kay's venomous group chat in our family's digital sanctuary, I thought the silence would be my victory. But silence, I learned, can be a weapon turned back on you. In the days that followed my mother Judith's call and a tense meeting with Kay pushed me to confront the lies head-on, while an unexpected visit from Grandpa Harold lit a spark of hope in the ashes of my trust. This was the moment I stopped begging for truth and started demanding it. The family group chat stayed dead quiet after Aunt Martha's exit, a void that echoed louder than any argument I was microwaving leftover curry when my phone lit up Judith's name, a rare sight. I let it ring, the hum of the microwave masking my hesitation. She called again, insistent, so I tapped, accept, bracing myself. Camilla. She began, her voice dripping with that rehearsed softness. I wish you hadn't posted that. You've upset your sister deeply. The words hung like damp laundry, heavy and unwanted. I let them linger before replying. You mean the sister who humiliated me after I paid for her party? Judith sighed, all exasperation. She was emotional. It was her day. I leaned against the counter, the linoleum cool under my palm. For me, it was the day I learned you'd rather erase me than face a flicker of discomfort. She deflected sharp now. We were keeping things peaceful. Why drag up every little thing? Kay's younger, figuring it out. Be the bigger person. The phrase stung, a tired script I'd heard too often. When did you last wish me a happy birthday, Mom? Silence. Her pause was louder than any apology. That's not fair, she mumbled. It's not about fairness, I said, voice steady. It's about choice. I hung up before her next excuse could land the click of the call's end, a small rebellion. Days later, I sat across from Kay in a downtown Minneapolis cafe, its exposed brick walls a neutral stage for our standoff. She arrived late, draped in curated loungewear sunglasses perched indoors. Migraine, she quipped, smirking as I gestured to the lenses. The air between us crackled taut as a wire. I'm not here to scream, I said, folding my hands. I'm here to warn you. Twist my story again, and I won't stay quiet. Kay rolled her eyes, glancing at her phone. God, you're so dramatic. This isn't court. I leaned forward, voice low. You deleted my name from every thank you, gave Mom credit for my money. That's not forgetting. That's theft. She waved me off. Mom made sure the checks cleared, I snapped. She made sure I paid her directly. That's what she ensured. Kay raised her hands, mock surrender. If it means that much, I'll add your name somewhere. But this storm you're stirring, it's not a good look. I stood chair scraping the floor. Neither is lying. She didn't follow as I left the cafe doors chime, a final note in our fractured duet. That evening, a knock broke the stillness of my apartment. Grandpa Harold stood on my porch, a pink bakery box in hand, lemon poppy seed, muffins inside. His eyes, creased with years, held a quiet knowing. We weren't invited either, he said, settling into my worn armchair. Judith said we'd steal Kay's spotlight. My chest tightened, grief sharp behind my eyes. They said you talk too much, I whispered. He shrugged, biting into a muffin. I talk about what matters. They don't want that heard. We sat no TV, just the clink of his coffee mug. The kind of quiet that stitches wounds. You're not crazy, he said before leaving his hand on my shoulder. Don't let them make you feel it. His words lingered a tether to something solid as I faced the battles still to come. How far would someone go to bury the truth you've just begun to unearth? After confronting my sister Kay and my mother Judith, I thought I'd drawn a line in the sand, a boundary forged in the quiet strength Grandpa Harold's words had kindled. But Kay didn't retreat. She sharpened her claws, striking not just at my heart, but at my livelihood. What came next wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated attempt to paint me as the villain in a story I'd funded with my sacrifices. In a single email, Kay tried to rewrite my reality, but I turned to a wider stage, letting the world see the truth through a screen's unblinking eye. It was a gray Tuesday morning, the kind where Minneapolis feels like it's holding its breath. I was at my kitchen table coffee cooling when an email from Ellie, an HR acquaintance from a past contract job, blinked into my inbox. The subject line, chilling concern regarding employee behavior, sent a shiver down my spine. I opened it, and there it was, Kay's name signed at the bottom like a brand. I'm concerned about Camilla's recent behavior, she wrote. She's been emotionally erratic, posting about family online, exhibiting patterns of harassment. I fear for our safety, and this should be on record, should things escalate. Each word landed like a stone, deliberate, polished, meant to stain. This wasn't a private jab. It was a professional guillotine sent to a workplace where my reputation still lingered, where future doors might have opened. My hands trembled not with fear, but with a fury so cold it felt like clarity. Kay hadn't just mocked me. She'd tried to erase my credibility, to make me unhireable, unstable, a threat. I didn't scream, I didn't call her. Instead, I opened a folder on my laptop, one I'd started months ago when the weight of their lies first pressed too hard. Screenshots of Venmo transfers $750 monthly for rent, $200 per semester for tuition, texts from Kay emoji-laced. Thanks for the car insurance I'd covered when Judith forgot, payment confirmations emails, and a digital trail of my quiet devotion. These weren't just receipts. They were proof of a life I'd poured into her future, unacknowledged, now weaponized against me. I logged into Reddit, my throwaway account, a silent refuge, where I'd lurked through others' family dramas, finding solace in shared pain. I knew how this platform worked, how truth could ripple if you laid it bare. My fingers hovered, then typed each word, measured, unadorned. My sister tried to have me kicked out of the graduation party I paid for. Then she wrote to my job saying I was unstable. Here's what happened. I chronicled it all. No embellishment, just facts. The $850 party, the security gate, Kay's dismissal, the group, chat's cruelty, my silent sacrifices. I attached screenshots, Venmo logs, Kay's texts, and the email to HR. I ended with a line that felt like exhaling after years. Underwater. Silence protects abusers. I'm done being quiet. I hit post, closed my laptop, and waited. The response didn't creep in. It surged. Within an hour, 1,000 upvotes, comments flooding. This is emotional abuse. You're not crazy. I've been there. My family used me too. You're brave for this. By noon, it hit the subreddit's front page. Strangers' words wrapping around me like a shield I hadn't known I needed. My phone buzzed Kay's number. I let it go dark. The screen's glow fading as I stared out my window, the city's pulse steady beyond the glass. This wasn't just my story anymore. It was a beacon, and others were answering its call. The weight of that moment shifted something inside me. I wasn't just fighting for myself now. I was fighting for every invisible scar carried by those who read my words. Kay's email had aimed to silence me, but it misfired, pushing me to a platform where my voice couldn't be deleted. The Reddit thread grew, each comment a crack in the facade my family had polished for years. I didn't know what Kay would do next, but I knew I'd meet it head-on, armed with a truth that was no longer mine alone to carry. What happens when the truth you've set free starts dismantling the lies others have built around you? After my Reddit post exposing Kay's betrayal went viral, I felt the world shift, strangers' voices amplifying my own. But my family didn't retreat quietly. They doubled down, rewriting me out of their legacy with a cruelty that cut deeper than any gatekeeper's dismissal. In the days that followed, a hidden document and a showdown stripped away, the last illusions leaving me to wield the truth, not just for myself, but for anyone who'd ever been erased. The Reddit thread burned bright, thousands of upvotes and comments piling up like kindling. This family is a masterclass in manipulation, one wrote. I hope she never gives them another second of peace, said another. My phone buzzed with Kay's call, but I let it fade, the silence. My first victory. Her Instagram went private. Stories vanished. Judith's Facebook locked tight. A digital retreat that spoke of panic. Then a voice memo from Jamie, a high school classmate tied to Kay's circle, landed in my inbox. 5 minutes of chaos, laughter, gum chewing. Then Kay's voice sharp. She's my ATM. She'll cave, always does. A quieter voice murmured, That's cold, Kay snapped back. Guilt is cheaper than gratitude. My stomach didn't twist. It settled the truth, no longer a shock but a confirmation. I posted the memo to Reddit titled, Turns Out. I wasn't crazy, just surrounded by people who profited from the lie. The response exploded, comments quoting Kay's words like evidence in a trial. Aunt Martha left the family group chat again, her silence a quiet rebellion. Then one early morning the mail slot rattled. A brown envelope lay on my floor. No return address, my name scrawled in unfamiliar ink. Inside, a scanned will, my parents highlighted, annotated, and brutal. Every asset, every heirloom, every dollar went to Kay. My name wasn't mentioned, not even as a footnote. The air left my lungs, not from surprise, but from the starkness of their choice. I forwarded it to Grandpa Harold, who called within minutes. That's new, he said, voice low. 2 years ago, you were in it. Another call followed, Eleanor, a distant relative, whispering Judith didn't tell anyone. Said you were too dramatic for anything real. I laughed, bitter, the sound echoing in my empty kitchen. 2 days later, I walked into Judith's house unannounced, the envelope in hand. Kay lounged on the couch, loungewear pristine, scrolling her phone. Walter sat at the dining table, newspaper open like a shield. Judith stood on the stairs, arms crossed, ready to lecture. I dropped the will between them. No theatrics. One honest conversation, I said, that's all I want. Judith opened her mouth, but I cut through. If your love was conditional, say it. If family means silence and service, admit it. Stop dressing it as care. Walter glanced up, eyes narrow. That's not fair. I held his gaze. What's not fair is rewriting history and calling it healing. Kay reached for her phone, but I warned, don't. If you're recording to make me look unhinged, wait till I'm gone. Her hand froze. Judith tried again. You don't understand. I shook my head. I understand more than you ever gave me credit for. I stepped back, the house's curated warmth, same photos, same furniture, feeling like a museum of lies. This place isn't mine, I said. I just funded the illusion. I left the doors click final. By evening, I'd uploaded the will to Reddit captioned, "Let's stop pretending this was ever about family." The thread ignited. This is next-level manipulation. She gave everything and got erased. Where do I send her flowers? Kay deleted her Instagram. Judith's Facebook vanished entirely. Eleanor texted, I didn't know I didn't. I half believed her, but belief wasn't my currency anymore. Harold called voice. Steady. Proud of you. I stood at my window, the city's lights blinking out one by one, and felt the weight lift, not gone, but shared, carried by a chorus of voices who saw me when my family wouldn't. When you've torn down the walls others built to cage you, what do you create in their place? After exposing my family's lies, Kay's venom, Judith's erasure, the will that wrote me out, I found not emptiness, but space. Space to rebuild, to choose myself, to speak for others, still silenced. In the weeks that followed, unexpected allies and a new purpose anchored me, and I learned that truth doesn't just break chains. It builds bridges to those who've walked the same shadowed paths. This is how I found my voice, and why I'm asking you to find yours. 3 weeks after the Reddit firestorm, I parked outside a nonprofit office in Minneapolis, its creaky floors and peeling paint, a far cry from the Bloomington Estates Polish. My desk was bare. No photos, no clutter, just a clean slate. As director of outreach, I chased grants, emailed shelters, and planned Zoom calls with purpose, not dread. The salary was modest, the hours flexible, the mission mine. Marlene and Adrian visited one rainy morning with damp curls and hesitant smiles. Adrian handed me an envelope, $60 cash a note in his neat script. One lunch for each month. I acted like you didn't matter, I failed you, he said. Voice cracking. Marlene shrugged. I thought you were intense. Now I know you were just outnumbered. We sat in my front room, no forced apologies, just a quiet that felt like mending. Later. Harold dropped by a diner, its burnt coffee scent clinging to cracked red booths. I heard Judith and Walter last week, he said, mug steady in his hands. They laughed like spinning you out was a game. His eyes held mine. They think people forget. They're wrong. My phone buzzed at lunch, Harold like clockwork. You eat yet? I smiled about to. Working too hard, no harder than I want. His laugh warmed the line. Eleanor stopped by with muffins, no grand gestures, just thought you might be too busy. Her eyes softer now saw me in a way they hadn't before. No one said, sorry, not Judith, not Walter, not Kay, and I didn't need them to. Their absence was clarity enough. Then an email from a downtown college invited me to speak on a resilience panel. We've followed your posts, they wrote. Your story could reach students who feel invisible. I stared at the screen, then typed, I'd be honored. It wasn't about reliving pain. It was about giving voice to those still searching for words. One Friday, I claimed my usual cafe table by the window, a muffin, and a second coffee for no one in particular. I scrolled past Kay's locked profile. Comments faded her silence. A ghost I no longer chased. I journaled instead ideas for the panel names of women to invite, a quote I'd carried. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I underlined it, the pen's scratch. A quiet vow that evening, passing a glass storefront, my reflection caught me, not weary, not bitter, just whole. Harold called, prattling about his garden, a neighbor's dog digging holes. I laughed, the sound lighter than I'd thought possible. Before bed, I turned off the light, left the window open, and slept. Without fear of the morning, I used to think peace meant swallowing pain, that loyalty was measured by how much you could endure. But silence doesn't make you noble. It makes you invisible. Speaking up isn't revenge. It's reclaiming your place, saying I was here. I mattered to anyone watching who's felt dismissed, diminished, erased in their own story. You're not alone. You don't need permission to exist. The quietest choices, walking away, standing firm, echo, loudest. So tell me, have you ever chosen yourself over silence? Watched someone else be erased and stayed quiet? Would you choose differently, now? Drop a comment, share where you're from, or just a one if this resonates. If this story stirred something in you, reminded you that your truth matters, hit subscribe. We don't just tell stories here, we tell truths, and yours is waiting to be heard.